Hey everyone, this is Friedel Hacker AJ Raven. I'm here with my recap and review of Raised by Wolves season number 2, episode number 3. Now, I wasn't able to do my recap and reviews for the previous two episodes, but I have to say that I ended up enjoying the two episode premiere the last week, and I wasn't expecting season 2 to take such a route when it comes to the narrative decisions that the show is making, but you know what? I'm here for it. It feels bigger than season number 1. There are a whole lot of people around, mother, father, and their 6 children, 7 if you count that snake thing. And yeah, I'm actually interested in seeing Marcus being the one who's walking around trying to convert people while humanity is basically under the control of the supercomputer called the Trust. And mother and father want the people want their children to be part of the atheist colony, but yeah, there are certain detractors, and yeah, those are the people that Marcus is targeting. But anyway, coming to episode number 3, so the weird snake thingy ended up attacking a group of colonists. That snake thingy, what's its name? Seven. Let's call it Seven. So seven. Yeah, seven. So Seven apparently ended up killing a research group, the marine research group, and the trust is like, you know what, all of you need to go out and hunt this thing. And of course, mother is like, you know what, it's my baby, it's my problem, so I'll be the one who will take care of this. And I'm like, mother, really? I'm not really sure if you'll be capable of killing Seven. And yeah, she's not. Anyway, the episode opens up with everyone basically going out on a hunt. Father is basically using Marcus's old people. Marcus's previous comrades as living bait, which is just wow. But yeah, basically the trust doesn't care about the Matriarch basically. Anyway, they are walking, and the episode opens up with mother just trying to track her, Seven, and then she walks into father, who again using these people as living bait. And yeah, mother is like, really, you're going to sacrifice these believers? It's unnecessary. I'll be the one who'll take care of the Seven, the snake. And father is like, well, you know what? We have to use all of the options that we have. So I'll also go on the hunt, and I want you to be careful, mother. You don't have your eyes anymore. And yeah, mother is like, it is what it is. Maybe I don't have any eyes maybe I don't have eyes anymore because I deserve to be destroyed. And father is like, don't talk like that. You don't deserve to be destroyed. Everyone needs you. Your children needs you. And for what it's worth, I need you, mother. And that kind of gives mother a bit of a boost, a morale boost. And she's like, you know what? Let's keep on tracking. So mother goes on her way, father goes on his way, and Marcus, who ended up hijacking a tank in the previous episode, these two people are basically believers of Saul now. And yeah, this woman, I don't remember her name, but she kind of looks like Rachel Weisz from the Mummy franchise. But anyway, they are tracking this very huge heat signature, because apparently, according to myth, the person who is going to find the Tree of Knowledge is someone who's going to master Saul's sword, and they think that Seven is basically Saul's sword. And while that's happening, Paul is still a believer as well, and he thinks that there has to be that the Tree of Knowledge is connected to Seven somehow, so they have to go and track down the snake as well. While Campion, on the other hand, he thinks that they need to save an innocent being like Seven. And I'm like, Campion, I don't think that Seven is innocent, but it is what it is. So yeah, father ends up activating the solar hats on the living bait, and now these solar hats are basically emitting these pillars of light in order to lure the monster, basically Seven. And father is like, yeah, keep on running, keep pace. So we need to lure it out, and once it ends up swallowing one of you or more of you, I'll detonate the bomb. So while they're walking, they end up noticing the tank, and yeah, the living bait are like, wait. So did the atheist colony take care of the snake? Are we safe now? But no, it turns out that it's Marcus, and Marcus is like, you know what, father, because those two know each other. And yeah, Marcus is like, you know what, father, I don't want to fight you because for some reason I kind of like you. So step aside and let me take these people with me in the name of Saul. And father is like, I'm going to detonate these people. if you come any closer. So he ends up asking his girlfriend, the woman from the tank, about the blast radius. And yeah, it's basically like 10 meters or 15 meters. And Marcus is like, so the trust ended up lying to you, huh? So he tries to step towards the people, but father stops him, and father ends up using his spear in order to stop Marcus. But yeah, Marcus just grabs it, and you can basically tell that Marcus has been infected by something. So I think that Marcus is turning into this weird technological human hybrid, and he is exhibiting more stamina and more strength than a normal human person should have. So these two fight, and Marcus ends up winning, and Marcus ends up killing father again. And I'm like, really, father, really, in episode number 3 again, you're down. So with father down, this is where Marcus ends up talking to Lucas, one of his previous colleagues, and Marcus is like, "Come with me, everyone, and I'll make you pure." And Lucas is like, "No, Marcus. The only thing impure on this world is you. The moment that you die, this world will be pure." And he ends up spitting at Marcus's face, and Marcus is like, "Okay, okay, okay. It's your choice. If you don't want to come with me, then don't come with me. But what about the rest of you? You can either come with me, or you can go back to the trust." So yeah, of course, the people end up following Marcus, and they go into the tank and they drive off with Lucas staying behind with father. Uh, yeah, this was the scene. So Lucas stays behind. Lucas stays behind while the rest of the people go with Marcus, and yeah, father is still on the ground. And while that's happening, in the previous episode, Campion and Paul end up meeting Varel. I think her name is supposed to be Varel, who was being attacked by a tank. And Varel ended up asking them to take her to her house, her hideout, in order for repairs. And she also said that, you know what, I have tracking software installed inside of me, so I can help you track the snake. So that's why Paul and Campion end up helping her do the hideout. And this is where Paul is like, what the heck is this place? And Varel is like, this is basically a church in the name of Saul, and it's my home now. So while Paul is checking around, this is where Varel and Campion end up talking about Varel's backstory, and basically Varel's like, you know what, there was a time when my mother ended up snapping my neck, and Campion is like, tell me more, but no, she can't, because that information is restricted. And yeah, these two end up having a conversation about how if you end up pretending to be someone long enough, you don't have to pretend anymore. And as far as Varel is concerned, she doesn't like experiencing sadness and all of that stuff. So yeah, you can tell that Campion is kind of falling for Varel, but yeah, let's see where this goes. Human falling in love with an android. We have seen this before. So Lamia is still on her way tracking Seven, and she ends up noticing a trap, and she ends up destroying the trap. And one of the guys who is very devoted to the trust, he's like, "Why the heck did you do that?" And Lamia is like, "Well, I'll be the one who'll kill Seven, and the trap is just going to make it dangerous and angry. So we don't need unnecessary traps. So I'm going to go ahead and track Seven down and kill it." And yeah, the guy is like, let's just first see what the trust says. And he ends up communicating with the trust, and the trust is like, you know what, accompany Lamia up to the peak. And the guy is like, oh, okay, I guess I'll do that. So the kids are having fun with one of the what is this? Some sort of energy ray gun that ends up pulling you towards a certain location, and they're having fun. And there's this kid over here, and I'm not really sure if that's actually the same kid who plays Paul, but it is what it is. And perhaps with Campion using the weapon in such a manner, I think he'll end up using the gun again down the line. But let's see what happens. So the gun ends up malfunctioning, and Paul is like, you know what, where's the repair kit? I'll go and repair it. And yeah, he ends up opening the repair kit, and he notices this little weapon thingy, and he's like, where did you get this? Who does it belong? Because he knows who this weapon thingy belongs to. Basically, this sword. And Beryl is like, well, it belongs to my mom's boyfriend. He's Matraic. And Paul is like, uh-oh. this is Marcus's place. We have to get out of here. So they try to run, and they're like, you know what, Varel, please don't tell anyone that we were here. And Varel's like, okay, so you want me to lie? And they're like, yeah, let's just do this. Please just do this for us. We have to get out of here. And before they go, Varel asks for the name, and Campion is like, yeah, my name is Campion. But before they can go, this is where Marcus and the rest of the people enter the church, and Campion and Paul hide, and Marcus kind of thinks that there's someone there, but he's not sure. So these two are still walking up the peak in order to get to seven, and this is where Lamia talks about how this guy actually has had an eye transplant. I guess he's wearing someone else's eyes, and she's like, you know what? It's kind of what I do as a necromancer, right? And he's like, I don't want no necromancer messing up with my mind. And yeah, Lamia's like, you know what, just stay back here. I need to go and I'll kill it. And the guy is like, no, I'll come with you. And she's like, no, I'll go alone and I'll kill it. And I'm like, really, Lamia? I'm not really sure if you'll be able to kill it. And she's not able to kill it. So she reaches the top of the peak, and this is where Seven appears. And Seven is basically just a baby, kind of, and she tries to shoot Seven, but she can't. And there's this native bird flying around, and Lamia catches it, rips off its head, and actually presents the blood to the baby. But surprisingly, the baby isn't interested in blood anymore, I guess. And it's a herbivore, and it's eating pumpkins, and that really, yeah, that really makes Lamia happy. She's like, okay, so I guess my little snake child isn't a threat anymore. So father ended up at the colony. I guess Lucas brought him back, and yeah, one of the girls is like, "You ended up dying again, huh?" And she also asks him about using those believers as living bait, as bombs, and if he was going to go ahead with detonating the bombs. And he's like, "Well, it was a poor strategy, but I was going to do it." So this is where he ends up finding out. I think it's Tempest who tells him that Lamia is back with Seven, and it turns out that Seven is a herbivore. He won't be attacking anyone, and he's being kept in a cave near the Outlook post. And Father is like, we need to. Because as far as he's concerned, they need to kill Seven. So he gets up, and but before he can go away, Paul and Campion come in, and yeah, Paul is like, Campion is like, Paul, we have to tell father or mother about Marcus being here. We have to warn them. And Paul is like, well, Marcus isn't harming anyone, right? And you know that we have to keep this religion going. So why do there's no need for us to tell them? And I'm like, really, Paul, really? As far as Marcus is concerned, he'll be okay with killing everyone if he thinks that it's basically a message from Saul, who, if I can understand correctly, isn't necessarily some godlike being. Basically, there's this signal being emitted by someone that's messing up with people's minds, and that signal ended up messing with Marcus's mind and also with Paul's mind, and that's why they think that they're hearing voices from Saul. So anyway, Campion decides not to tell father about Marcus's hideout, and father is like, okay, so I need to go and talk to mother. And yeah, mother is taking care of Seven. She notices father, and she walks out, and she's like, Father, oh no, you're wounded. You need to rest. And father is like, why the heck is that thing not killed yet? And mother is like, well, it's a herbivore. It's not a threat to anyone. And it turns out that apparently it also didn't kill those marine researchers, because mother ended up testing its skills against acid water, and it can't. It can't withstand acid water. So I guess there's something else out there that's dangerous and that's killing humans. And father is like, you know what, whatever the case, we still have to kill it. And mother is like, no, we can't, because my caregiving protocols want it to stay alive. And father is like, well, as far as my caregiving protocols go, this thing is a threat to our children, mother. And yeah, Mia is like, you need to understand that I need this thing in my life, father. And father, yeah, he just walks away. So father has been working on this relic, which is basically an android, which is like what? It dates back a million years, and yeah, it's creepy, it's weird. And father is basically talking to the android about how even though he wants Seven to be killed, he still wants Lamia to be happy. So he's confused about what he needs to do. But however, as he walks away, because his fuel. Energy fuel is leaking from his ear. That ends up getting on this old android. And yeah, father is like, okay, so I guess you need fuel, right? Android fuel. So he ends up using his own fuel to feed the android, the old android that he's working on. And you can see these gold thingies spreading across the android, and I'm like, really, really, father, you're really going to bring back an android that's like what, a million years old? Don't do this, don't do this. And father is very happy with himself, because he's like, oh, it turns out that mother isn't the only one capable of giving new life or birthing new life. I'm doing it too. So the doctor or the medic, I still can't remember this girl's name. So the trust wants her to test a sample from Seven, and she's like, "Well, I'm busy. Get someone else to do it." But no, Trust doesn't like hearing no for an answer, and it ends up ringing alarms and lights and all of that stuff until she agrees. And yeah, as she's trusting the sample, she's like, the nanobot count is very, very low in this thing, and it's still a baby, it's still growing. And this is where one of the computers tells her that, you know what, there are remnants of mother's milk inside of it. And she's like, oh, she's starting to put two and two together, and she's like, how old is this thing? And yeah, the computer is like 6 months, and she's like, I think I know where this is going. So Campion is spending time with Seven, and Mother comes in, and Mother is like, you know what, Campion, you should have had your lunch an hour ago. And she sits down with Campion, and yeah, she's like, Campion, I need you to form your own opinions, your own thoughts. I don't want you listening to Paul a lot, because Paul is basically, he's a believer. He's not an atheist and all of that stuff. And she tries, and I think Mother wants wants Campion to cut his hair, and Campion is like, are all androids obsessed with how humans look? And yeah, Mother is like, well, it depends on the programming, because as far as Mother is concerned, she wants Campion to be the leader of the atheist colony when the trust ends up handing over the baton to him. And she's like, you know what, people won't take you seriously if you aren't presentable. And while they're talking, this is where Campion is like, Mother, do you think that there are other androids out there who can give birth like you? And Mother is like, no, I don't think so. And then these two end up noticing Seven acting strange. And yeah, Campion is like, Mother, I think that Seven is jealous. And I'm like, okay, I have a feeling that Seven is going to be jealous of Campion, and that's why it might end up attacking Campion or the rest of the children. So let's see where that goes. So the trust wants to talk to Paul, and Paul is taken to the trust, and he's talking to the same guy that was with Lamia. And yeah, the guy is like, you know what, children feel very grateful when they're called to communicate with the trust. And Paul is like, well, it's because they're impure like you. So anyway, the trust wants Paul to tell it the truth, and yeah, the trust is like, so have you had any contact with Marcus lately? And Paul is like, no, I haven't. And the trust ends up basically bribing Paul to tell the truth by saying that if you tell the truth, then you can have Mouse back. And Paul wants Mouse back, but he also can't give away Marcus, because he wants his religion to continue. So Paul ends up basically kind of lying to the trust, because the trust question was whether or not he has had any contact with Marcus, and Paul is like, no, I haven't, which is basically not a lie technically. So anyway, Paul is able to get back Mouse, and the trust is like, you know what, you don't have to worry about Marcus anymore, whom you clearly hate, because we are going to attack Marcus's hideout. So you don't have to worry. And that really concerns Paul, because he doesn't want Marcus to die. And while that's happening, we see that Marcus ends up noticing a snake skin. And yeah, this is shedded snake skin, right? So he notices that on top of a hill, and because Marcus is growing stronger and all of that stuff, he's able to climb the hill very fast, and he takes the snake skin, and he ends up doing this pose in front of the sun. And yeah, I guess as far as he's concerned, this snakeskin is another sign from Saul. So everyone is at home, they're having dinner. However, Mother ends up hearing Seven screeches. I think Seven is calling to Mother, but she can't go there. uh, But yeah, she's like, okay, children, it's time for us to go out on our daily tasks. And yeah, Campion stays behind because he wants to talk to father. However, the girl, where is she? Over here. The girl, one of the girls who's like, you know what, I don't, because they all are noticed that Paul ended up getting mouse back. But as far as the girl is concerned, she's like, maybe it's brain chipped, and the trust is keeping track of our movements and all of that stuff, because she is still a believer, and mother doesn't necessarily know how to handle her. But anyway, everyone is out to do their daily tasks, and this is where Campion ends up talking to father about how the heck was a mere human able to defeat you, father. And yeah, father is like, well, as far as Marcus is concerned, I think that there's something going on with him, because he ended up exhibiting power and stamina that's way too high for a mere human. And Campion is just happy because Campion is like, you know what? You're a very durable android, because you have died many times and you've come back many times. And this is where Campion tells father that Hunter told him about how the type of android model that father is, they can also like share their consciousness with other androids. They can basically download their consciousness into another android. And I'm like, okay. So maybe the android that father is working on in his shed, maybe he'll try to share his consciousness with that thing. We don't know. And the father is like, you know what? I'm not really sure if I'll be going through with that. And Campion is like, why not? Why should I have the best father in the world? Why can't other people benefit from having you as their father as well? And I guess that gives father something to think about. So before they can go ahead with their daily tasks, yeah, this was the girl who was still a believer, and she ends up noticing that Paul and Campion are up to something, and then she's like, okay, so what the heck do you guys know? Tell me. And this is where these two tell the girl about how they were at Marcus's hideout, and that the Trust is going to attack Marcus's hideout, and they need to warn him. And the girl is like, yep. We need to warn the Matraic, because Trust will end up not only killing the Matraic, but also the android that Campion likes. And yeah, Campion doesn't want Varel to be destroyed. And so these three decide to go and warn Marcus. So father is still working on the android, and basically there's this weird silicon fungus growing on the android, and I'm like, father, why are you doing this? Why? So it still needs more energy fuel, body fuel. So father decides to take it from one of the workshops, and the medic woman appears, and she's like, okay, so is this for you? And father is like, yeah, it's for me. And she's like, you know what? I heard that Marcus is the one who ended up wounding you, and I never liked it when Marcus ended up attacking androids. So she kind of, I think, tries to show her care towards father, which is just weird. But anyway, she's like, you know what? This isn't real fuel. This is basically juice. The real fuel is somewhere is in another location, so you can get the fuel from there. And before the conversation ends, she asks father some questions about the mother's baby, and she's like, you know what? Condolences for your loss. And father is like, well, I wasn't very attached to the baby. And she asks more questions, but father is like, you know what? I'm not going to talk about the baby because mother wouldn't approve. And he walks away. And yeah, again, the woman medic, she's putting two and two together, because I think that she has figured out that Seven the snake is basically Lamia's child. So father ends up taking Hunter to this type of bazaar where they can barter something for android body fuel, and they end up meeting this woman, and she's like, you know what, I have a whole lot of relics, so you can't trade that for a container of fuel. However, she ends up noticing the Saul pendant that Hunter is wearing, and she's like, you know what, if you give me that Saul pendant, then I'll give you the fuel. And father is, and yeah, Hunter is very willing to give the Saul pendant to the woman, but yeah, father is like, no, there's no need for you to give your Saul pendant. We will just walk away. And this is also where father ended up mentioning that the Saul pendant belonged to a Matraic soldier that father ended up killing, and that interests the woman, and she's like, okay, so I guess you're a fighter. So what do you say about fighting Billy? And if you end up fighting Billy, and if you win, I'll give you the fuel. And father's like, yeah, let's do that. So while they're waiting for Billy, this is where Tempest arrives, and she has made a new friend. And I think Hunter is a bit jealous, but I'm not really sure. So it turns out that because father is injured, he can't keep on fighting, so he'll only have a few minutes to take down his opponent. And Hunter wants him to stay safe because his opponent is basically an industrial model, which is very kind of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But yeah, it's an industrial model, and it will be very hard for someone like father to defeat it. And this is where Hunter ends up giving father his soul pendant, I guess, to help him stay safe. So the fight starts, and it's an okay fight because the industrial model it isn't as intelligent as father. Father is able to use his brain, so it's basically brain versus brawn. And yeah, father is able to dodge all of the attacks, and he's able to use the industrial model's own power against it. And yeah, father ends up winning. Everyone is happy, and father is very happy with the attention that he's getting. So we cut to the children, and Paul, Campion, and the girl are there, and they're near Marcus's hideout, and they're like, you know what? How the heck are we going to warn Marcus? And yeah, even Campion is like, I think we shouldn't have come here. This is a bad plan. I have a bad feeling about this. And Varel, because she has tracking sensors inside of her, she's able to detect Campion, Paul, and the girl over there. And then we cut to Marcus and the woman, and Marcus ends up gifting the woman the shredded skin that he found, and he's like, you know what, this skin is able to absorb Saul's energy so that you can feel Saul's energy at night as well. And I have a feeling that these two really hooked up, and she might be pregnant, and she might end up being pregnant down the line, but let's see what happens. So while Marcus is basically having fun with the dead starfish, he's looking through the dead starfish's body. He ends up noticing the kids, and he's like, kids, come out, come out. And yeah, Paul, Campion, and the girl have no other option but to come out. And yeah, Marcus is very happy to see Paul again, and he's like, all of you are invited here, so what's up? And this is where the episode ends. Again, a very enjoyable episode. I am really enjoying season number 2, even more so than season number 1, kind of. Because season number 1 was all about introducing characters and laying the basis of this world. But season number 2, it's even better. Do I understand everything that's happening? No, I do not. But yeah, let me know what you thought of season number 3 down, not season number 3, my bad. Episode number 3 down in the comment section below. And until next time, stay happy, stay safe, stay blessed. See you guys later. Bye.